All right. I hope you guys are ready. We are definitely skipping the small talk on this series. So, what I decided that I wanted to do because I gotta give you guys, I gotta just release myself of the first episode. I feel like it was such a filler. Like I finished it and I launched it and I was just like, ugh. Like, I mean, yeah, I liked what I said, but I don't know. I felt like there wasn't enough depth. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to take you guys back and I'm just, I'm literally I'm opening all the way up about everything. I feel like this is going to be the first time that you have heard me talk about a lot of the topics that I'm going to talk about. Not necessarily all of them, because I definitely am open with a lot of things, but I feel like the last 4 months of my life has really brought in some awareness to my perspective. I think that's the only way that I could explain it, is like awareness to the way that I believe things or the way that I perceive things. And I really, really do feel like this is going to be very helpful. And I hope that, you guys walk away from this little mini series that this is going to become, because it's too long to keep in one episode, that it changes your perspective on a lot of things in life enough for you to go places that you're meant to go. And this isn't necessarily about business. This is literally life. You guys, this is about life. And I have I've been a sponge for the last 4 months. And I finally last night was like, I'm letting it all out. Like, I'm letting it all out. And it's going to be on one thing. And I'm like, I'm going to do one long podcast. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I could do that. And then I was talking to my mom this morning and I'm like, I just don't know how to do you guys ever have so much on your mind that you like are trying to like what is that word? I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, put it in files. Like, I'm trying to like figure out, okay, I could do, this episode, and then that could lead to this, and then this could lead to that, and then this and that. And it's just like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for me. Why, you guys, I'm still stuck on not being able to say that word. Compartmental. What is wrong with me? I could like see it in my head and I can't say it. Anyways. Okay. So we are going to be diving into a lot of things that have really kind of allowed me to get a visual and paint a picture of the way that my thought process works on really analyzing situations and things that happen in our lives and things that happen with other people, and being able to give you guys visuals of my perspective. Okay. There was something that happened 4 months ago, and I keep referring to 4 months ago, because I was in the car and there was a conversation and it opened this door but before I get into that, I have to give you guys a little backstory on me. Okay. I know I went into it a little bit on the first episode, but there are some things that I really want you guys to understand before I dive into this. And I just want everything to make sense. I know I also talked about, I always make a short story long. And that's the only way that I know how to have people understand the full story. I don't even know, like, it's just the way I am. Okay. And I feel like it doesn't make sense if this part's not added in there, or they don't know this or whatever. So I am going to do the best that I can to really define my perspective without, like putting it in some sort of box. Okay. Because I have these different beliefs and I have these different views and I have these different, morals and these different things. But I feel like the world today is just so much about putting things in boxes. Okay, well, this goes in that box and this goes in that box. And you believe this, or you vote like this, or you do this, or you do that. It's just like, I'm done with the boxes. Like, let's remove all the lines. Like, let's take the line out of the sand and let's just have a conversation about views and beliefs and perspectives, and really take this time to put yourself in people's shoes. I know every single one of you are going to listen to this and you're going to think of someone or some relationship or some situation or a family member or, a friend, or there's going to be things that come to your mind. And I really want to give you guys, the permission to give yourself, to get vulnerable and allow yourself to use this time to heal in certain ways and understand things, be open to understanding things. Because I think there's so many things in our life that we put ourselves in like this belief box, right? Like, if you believe this, you have to stay in that box. And if you believe this, then you have to stay in that box. And I think what that ends up doing is that ends up really, really ruining a lot of good that we can do in this world, and a lot of serving that we could do in this world for, other people that God is bringing into our life, and just, the people that we live our day to day with. And so that's just a little bit of an intro of why and how and what I'm still navigating my words around this. So you're going to have to just bear with the messiness, because it's going to be, I wore my freaking sweats down here. If you're watching the video, like, you guys, I literally was getting ready and I'm like, no, it's a sweats day. It's a comfy, it's an open book. It's a vulnerable day. And that is what this is going to be. It's going to be very vulnerable. And like I said, there's going to be things that I'm going to talk about that I've never talked about before. So let's take it back to my childhood really quick, because I really want you guys to know the type of person I am. Okay. I have never really been one to look up to anyone in a high profile sort of way. Okay. So like celebrities and things like that. Like, I just haven't been that. Like, I'm not, I don't want to say I'm unimpressed, because obviously there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of things, but I really grew up in a very small town that I would say a celebrity in my mind. Obviously, I knew about like Britney Spears and Taylor Swift and stuff, but that was just music, and that's where it stopped. I didn't dive into learning about them and becoming this like super fan of anything. Like, I would listen to the music. When the music was over, that was it. Like, that's all it was. And I grew up where, my mom had MTV banned from my TV. Like, I don't know if any of you guys had like parental guiding, like the guidance where it was like, nope, channel 36 and 37, VH1 and MTV, you are not allowed to watch. I literally think I was 17 years old when Jesse, my husband, now was my boyfriend, came over and we went to put on MTV, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to watch that channel. My mom would randomly let us watch it when it was like the Real Road Rules Challenge or something like that. But so anyways, I didn't really grow up with this. We watched CMT. So I guess there was a lot of country music in my house. There was a lot of, country music videos on pretty much all the time. CMT was on, and I would somehow figure out the passcode random times, and then we would always get caught, and I would always try to watch, the music video. I've always loved, I'm a huge music person. I could find myself or someone in pretty much any song. Okay. I love music. I love lyrics. I'm definitely the person who, when I like a song, I go learn every single lyric to the song, like open up the CD, like old school ways, you guys. I would open up my CD and I would listen and I would learn every single lyric to the songs. I'm still that way. When I like a song, I look up the lyrics. That's the first thing I do. Now my kids hate it because, they listen to a song. I look up the lyrics. I'm like, oh, hail to the no. We are not listening to this song. And I know some of you are like, well, you cuss. Like, what's the big deal? It's the meaning behind the cussing. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it's, are you cussing at someone? Are you calling someone a name? Are you just, being excited about something? Either way, that's a conversation for another time. I love lyrics, and something that, has stayed with me for a long time is just, like I said, healing and getting through seasons and going through different chapters of my life with different music. And I love that. I don't really know why. I know that I was talking about like VH1 and stuff, music videos, but anyways, I guess I elaborated a little more on that than I planned. So anyways, 18 years old, move out to California, and I moved to Newport Beach, you guys. And I don't know what anything is. Like when I say I don't know what anything is, like I don't know what any designer brands are. The only one that I did know was Louis Vuitton, because my dad did a landscaping job and he traded a landscaping job. And this guy said, well, I have these designer Louis Vuitton bags that you could give your daughters. And my dad gave me one of these Louis Vuitton bags. And that's the only way that I even knew what that was my dad was like, there's these Louis Vuitton designer bags that I traded for you guys. My mom had her Louis purse. Long story short on that, you guys, they ended up being fake. So that was sad. That was really sad that someone did that to my daddy. He freaking worked his butt off on that landscaping job, and someone freaking ripped him off with some fake Louis. So anyways, I moved out to California not knowing anything or anyone. Okay. I didn't know who, like, these big name, like, obviously I had watched movies and there had been certain things that I saw, like, just to give you an example, Angelina Jolie. She was like a big one. We owned a video store growing up. So like the big actresses and stuff, I remember like seeing their names in like bold and putting away movies and, doing that sort of thing. But I was never the person who followed celebrities on social media. I wasn't. Okay. And the reason why I'm kind of getting into this with you guys is because I really, truly have not ever in my life felt the need to look up to someone besides God. I haven't. I haven't like had that void missing. And when I'm looking for the answers to things, or I'm looking to be inspired or become a better version of myself or grow or whatever it is, I look into like the more spiritual side of things. So it's like, maybe sometimes it would be leaders, certain pastors, go listen to different, sermons and stuff like that. And as I started growing up, I, first of all, got pregnant when I was 19. And I remember that being a season in my life where I kind of for the first time, like, felt judgment. Like I felt it. Like when you're a kid and it's like, oh, you're doing this or you're doing that, like you don't feel it like you do. I mean, for me, it was becoming a parent. Like I said, like I just felt it. I was shamed. I was whispered about. I was, and I mean, it didn't matter where I went. Whether I went to parks, whether I went to the mall, whether I went, to frickin' Walmart, whatever it was. And, one of the biggest, like most, I guess, shameful parts about it was having baby before I was married, not being married, still having, my baby daddy. I look back on my stuff and I'm like, I always called him my baby daddy. I'm like, dear Lord. Anyways, so that was like the first time that I don't want to say felt shame, because I definitely felt shame in my junior high and high school years with certain things that will be shared on a different time. So, but this was the first time I felt judged, like extremely judged. And I remember thinking, but like, I'm a good person. Like I'm a good person. I love God and I'm nice to people and I want to like help people. And I remember just like that feeling of like, just not, that wasn't good enough. Like that wasn't good enough. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I would go to church by myself with my baby. No one would talk to me. like very, very rarely. I would go with my neighbors sometimes, but it wasn't something where you just walk in and you feel welcome. Like it wasn't like that. And, I'm actually like, I'm thinking about things right now that I haven't thought about in a really long time now that I'm like kind of diving into the storyline of things. So anyways, we ended up having, some friends who were on TV shows and did different things. And, I met some really amazing people, but I was always the person that didn't, I don't know. I didn't want to ever put anyone on a pedestal subconsciously. Like subconsciously, if someone had any sort of fame, I immediately like backed off of that because I didn't want to like put someone on any sort of place that I put God. Okay. And maybe that's just like was my thought process and, was my thing that I felt. And so anyways, with all of that being said, I have experienced a lot over the course of, having 3 more babies and going through things in my life and growing in my faith. And I think that growing in my faith took a lot of hitting walls, a lot of subconsciously even feeling like I don't need God. And I think this is the first time I've ever said that out loud, but I felt like I could, there were moments and times in my life when I didn't even realize that I wasn't leaning into my faith. I wasn't leaning into God. I was leaning into myself, my work ethic, what I could do, how I could grow, what I could build, what I could do. And, I will tell you during those times, it was definitely the hardest. And that's not really the topic of, this conversation right now, but just as I'm kind of rolling through the memories of what kind of got me to this place. And, then you grow into, I would say after I became a mom for the second time, well, then you kind of get into like the mom shit, like the judgment comes out to play at the park. Okay. Like it's there and it's loud and it's clear. And it is like, you get in this circle of people and it's just like, how can we tear every single person apart? And I don't know. I didn't fit in there. I couldn't do that. So I backed way far up from like the mom friends. I was like, this circle is not for me. This is not, I don't care about this person having an affair, this person doing this, that person this. Did you hear? Did you see? Did you do? Like it was not my cup of tea. And at this time in my life, I really didn't even realize how my perspective on judgment was. I didn't really understand that it was judgment. Okay. In my mind, it was just shit talking. Like I was just like, why is everyone like this? I've shared many times before my story about how I had gone to MOPS. And when I went to MOPS, which was Moms of Preschoolers at the church, I was so excited. I'm like, I'm going to have some mom friends. This is going to be so fun. And I walked in and it was just like, I was the youngest mom there. I had 2 kids. At the time, I probably, was extremely underweight. And I felt like that was another thing that I was, judged for a lot in my life. And I was called different things. And, it was something I was very, very, very insecure about for a large part of my life, and called a tweaker, anorexic, bulimic, go eat a cheeseburger, go do this. Oh, don't throw up after you eat that. Like there was just a lot of judgment about my weight. And so those were like the 2 main ones when I got to that point. Okay. So then you go into like, I realized, after starting my business, my wood furniture business, that I felt connected. Like I felt like I found a group of people, of women, I found my people. Like it was people who wanted to work, who didn't want to have like all these, shitty conversations and talking about this person and venting about that. And then it's like, but then they go home and they have like the same weird thing going on. It was just like one of those things that I found my people through business. And as I'm sitting here, I'm actually like, I'm really sad because I feel like I seeked my people at churches a lot. And I didn't find my people at churches. I found a lot of judgment. I found a lot of shame. I remember leaving multiple places feeling guilty. And for anyone listening to this who has ever felt that way about themselves when it comes to God, that's not right. Okay? That's not right. That's religion. And I don't believe, and you guys, I want to share a little story with you, but I want to kind of, get through the part of getting to the place where, I had to go outside of my comfort zone a lot with my last business that I was growing, when I ended up realizing how much people did look up to celebrities. And for me, it was really, really, really hard for me to put, regular people, because I've always considered celebrities regular people. The ones that I have met and have grown friendships with, even up until this point, were normal people. Like they were normal. They weren't like, maybe they were celebrities or they were, this specific person to other people. But to me, I was like, they're just like a normal mom. They're like a normal person. Like she's just a normal daughter. Like, they got normal relationship things going on. Like it's just normal. So I promise you the reason why I'm emphasizing this is going to make sense a little bit later on in the podcast. But I really want you guys to get like where I had, really come from at this point, because I know that there's a lot of people who might be listening to this and be like, well, you built, a bunch of celebrities furniture and you built your business around that. And I want you to know how uncomfortable it was for me to actually go down that route. And I don't actually ever think that I would have had I not gone on the Bethany Frankel show. Bethany Frankel was a housewife from New York. She was a business owner, and I connected with her on that level. I actually never really watched the show. I think I watched it a couple times. Like, I don't know if any of you guys, like OG Housewives of New York listeners, remember like the episode where she was like in the grocery store with her skinny girl cocktails. Okay. So that was like the vibe of what I felt or what I liked about Bethany. So I loved how she was businesswoman. I don't feel like there was a lot of bold business women in that sort of era. And so this was about 2011. Okay. So 2011, 2012, I start this business. I think it was the end of 2012 when I actually ended up going out there. I went on her website, literally fiddling around, no clue what I'm doing. Oh, Bethany in your business segment. And I'm like, what the hell is that? I want Bethany in my business. She's a freaking badass businesswoman, right? So I click on it. I end up, long story short, you guys, getting picked. I was chose for this Bethany in your business segment. And what this meant was they flew me out to New York. You guys, the whole nine. Like, I was at a beautiful hotel. There was a limo. Like, it was so freaking amazing. Like, it was so beautiful. It wasn't amazing in the sense of, like, oh, this like glitz and glam and lights and all these things. It was amazing in the sense of I had never in my life experienced that. So like nowadays we grow up and it's like kids are taking limos to the freaking movie theater, right? Like, oh, and obviously maybe it's a special occasion, birthday, whatever. Where I grew up, that was not a thing. Like I didn't even like what, like who get like, that's just on the movies. Like that I don't even think we had a limo place where I grew up, like at all. We had, dive bars and little hole in the wall restaurants and cattle guards and, couple stoplights in my town. So anyways, when I came home from that, I realized that the world doesn't think like me. And that is when I looked and I put my business hat on and I started looking at things through a different lens. And this is, where perspective came in to my life, because this is what we have to do, you guys. If you ever want to reach people or you ever want to understand people, you got to think like the people, okay? We can't think like ourselves. We can't think the way that we would think, because if I was thinking the way that I would think, I wouldn't give two shits about someone being on a TV show or being in a movie or being, on whatever it was. Like but what shifted and what pivoted, my whole business was thinking and putting myself in the position of someone else who actually did care about that. And I realized very quickly, a lot of freaking people do. A lot of people care about, the status of people and things. And when my furniture got into the hands of celebrities, when, I brought a different dynamic to my business, it brought a lot of people to my business. And for me, it was very hard and very challenging because I had to work with people that I genuinely liked. Okay. I wasn't just going to go pick someone because she had a big following. I wasn't just going to go pick someone because of this. Like, I wanted them to have like commonality with me. Like, I wanted us to be able to like actually sit and have lunch and have a conversation. So most of them ended up being moms, because that was an area where I felt like I really genuinely connected with people, was through motherhood. And it just, it grew more and more. And I, gained different relationships with many different celebrities and many reality stars. And you guys, being able to see and walk with them on the other side of, everything that I already felt like I knew, like they're normal people, like they're just under a microscope, right? Like, wow, they just have a lot more people following them. They're going through the same emotions. They all have their own battles. They're going through different things. And I don't know. I wanted to give you this back story before I kind of dive into what started my whole message that I'm going to be sharing during this series 4 months ago, because I really needed you guys to get into my head with my perspective of thinking, where I stood with different things. So with all of that being said, I feel like there has been a really, really big division in the world, specifically over the last 4 years. And a lot of it is based on beliefs. Okay. You believe this, you do that, you do this, you vote this, you do and it's just, everyone is just tossed into these different boxes. And it doesn't matter about it. It literally, like, nothing matters other than that. I have seen so many friendships, so many relationships, so many families, so many people torn apart over things that should not be allowed to tear you apart. Okay. Now, I understand there's extremists in every single situation, whether it be politics, religion, different beliefs, medical beliefs, all these different, like, I get it. Okay. I get it. But what I want to share with you guys and what I want to talk to you guys about is, I guess, the realization of what my beliefs are. And I think that this has been a topic that I haven't really talked about because I haven't had clarity on my own beliefs. Or maybe I've never had to walk down this path in order to even fully understand my own beliefs. Now, a little bit of backstory on my family. I have gay family members. I have trans family members. I obviously have straight family members. I have atheist family members. I have extremely religious family members. I have pastors in my family. I have a very, very, very diverse family unit. Okay. And I think that one thing that it has taught me is that when you start judging someone, you take the love out of everything. You take what God meant for good and you literally toss it to the enemy. And it's something that I've really, really had so much clarity on. And I have dove so deep into this, you guys, and I have really, really used and a lot of what gave me this perspective is probably going to surprise you guys because it's a celebrity. And I still sit here today and I'm like, I don't even understand this to an extent. I was walking around my house this morning and I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I literally do not know where to start. I don't know how to do this. I don't know. Oh, does this even make sense? Is this even going to be helpful? Is this even going to give people clarity or perspective on anything? How is this going to do something for people? So what I want to dive into is judgment at firsthand. Okay. So religion is something that is very much not a part of my belief system. Now, I do feel like, and it's funny because I listened to an old podcast of mine and I got on and I was talking about, my faith. And I was like, I'm a very religious person. And I was so ignorant to what that even meant. Okay. And I think that I want to give you guys some clarity on these things that I have learned and how I've grown in my faith and why I've grown in my faith in different areas and why things make sense now. Okay. So I have not forever been a very big church goer. Okay. I love going to church. I love going to worship. I love Bible study. I love doing things with other women. I love having conversations about God, about faith, about all of those things. I love it. The second that I feel like I'm entering a space that is, a judgmental space, a space with walls already up, that you have to, I guess, look, act, talk a certain way, I'm immediately uncomfortable and I'm immediately, I immediately don't want to be there. It takes a lot of things out of, so what I got really good at is closing myself off. When I go to church, I'm a note taker. I like to take notes. Every sermon I've ever been to, probably since I can remember, I either have a notebook, I'm taking notes on my phone, or I'm taking notes with, the the sermon little recap thing, the paper. Okay. So that's what I like to do. I'm not there. And this is really sad. And I've realized a lot of these things is I am not there to make friends, because most of the time that I've been in this position of going to church and wanting to establish relationships, I have felt very judged for a lot of different things. And I have a lot of different perspectives and outlooks on things. And this is where, you guys, I don't know where this conversation is leading. I genuinely don't. In terms of what my whole like offloading is, like I asked myself before I did this, because I ask myself this every single time I do anything, literally anything. What is my intention? I need to know, and I need to be clear on my intention. With whatever I'm doing, I need to know what my intention is. And for a large majority of the time this morning, I'm like, because I just got to get all this shit off my brain. Like, I got to dump it. Like, I got to brain dump on another level right now. And then I also thought, okay, well, what do you want people's takeaways to be? And I want people to open their mind. I want people to open their mind to other people. And I want people to, I'm going to tell you a little story really quick. And this is like kind of giving a visual of what I believe in terms of how Jesus will, I guess, receive people. Okay. Now, there's a story about a woman. Okay. There's a story in the Bible, and it's about a woman, and she is brought to Jesus by a religious leadership group, a group of religious leaders. And she committed adultery. So she was brought to Jesus, and they said, she has committed adultery and she shall be punished. So what Jesus does is he kneels down and he starts drawing with his hand in the dust. And he's kneeling down and he's drawing in the dust. And what he ends up doing is asking everyone there, if whomever has not sinned in their life can throw the first stone. And guess what ended up happening? The eldest of the crowd ended up leaving first, because they've had a longer life. They've obviously, they probably first to think of their sins, right? Then everyone else ended up leaving. The woman was not stoned. And this story of, Jesus looking at this woman and giving her forgiveness, it really painted a picture that, there's so many religious people who want to say they walk by faith and they do this and they want to live a life for Jesus. They want to live a life that would make him happy. Yet everyone is doing so many things. And we're all guilty. We're all sinners. You guys, we are all sinners. Not one of us is clean of sins. So why on earth would you feel the entitlement to judge someone else if even Jesus is not judging the sinners? Why do you get to judge the sinners? Why do you get to shame someone's name? Why do you get to tear someone to pieces? Whether it be through social media, whether it be to your neighbor, whether it be to your husband. who gave you that authority? Because that authority did not come from God. And I think that I look at so many situations, and there's been a lot of struggles in terms of people in my life holding on to things.